Hey, Bold for Christ YouTube channel. I want to talk a little bit about identity today, and I want to take notice of the world and how the world will accept us changing our identity as long as it's something that really can't be changed. For instance, God creates us male or female, and the world says, oh, if you want to go from male to female or female to male, then that's no problem, you can do that, right? And now keep in mind, the things of the Creator, Yahweh, are absolute. They cannot be changed, because these are what are called laws, right? And we're bound under the laws of our sex or gender. And if God makes someone a male, they absolutely cannot be a female. Even though someone may be born, say, a hermaphrodite with both parts, they only have one set of internal organs. So because a girl is born with a vestigial penis, for instance, right, she has ovaries and she has female parts inside of her. That makes her a girl. She's not both sexes. She doesn't get to choose, right? So even in those instances, what God does is absolute, right? So if I wanted to change my gender from male to female, the world would accept that. In large, I'm speaking. The world would accept that of me. They'd say, okay, and we'll call you by your preferred pronoun, right? We'll bend over backwards to accommodate your situation. I could go into any place and get a job, no problem. Home Depot would hire me on the spot, right? If I were on the Shark Tank, Barbara would invest in my company no matter how crappy it was, right? They'll do whatever you want, and they'll do backflips to accommodate for somebody wanting to change something that's absolute and comes from the Creator. But enter me into the situation where I have awoken from the slumber that I was born into and raised into and brainwashed. And I have decided I no longer want to be a legal entity, which is something that is not absolute. That is something that is not of the Creator. We hear the Creator say over and over and over in His words, He is not a respecter of persons. What is a person? A person is an identity. A person is a mask. A person is a character, if you will, right? I have woken up and realized that I am a man who is created in the image of the Creator, right? And I have been deceived and brainwashed into abandoning my manhood in favor of adopting a personhood, right? And so I have awoken to this fact, and I have said I am no longer a person. I am no longer a corporate entity, a corporate fiction. I am no longer an all capital letter name on some document filed away somewhere the day I was born, having nothing to do with me. And all of a sudden, I am looked on as a crazy man. My wife thinks I am a lunatic, a crazy man. She has told my children that their father is a crazy man. He's not normal. He's different, right? When I was in the courtroom, in the case I just ended up beating by not identifying as the person that they wanted me to identify as, right? They looked on me like I was a crazy man. They wanted me to take evaluations. Very easily defeated. How did I defeat that? Very easy. When the doctor showed up to evaluate me, I said, no problem. No problem. Got no problem answering anything you want me to answer, but I just want to be compensated for my time. They looked on me like I was crazy for wanting to be compensated for my time. Is that a crazy thing? I said to the doctor, you get compensated for your time. The judge gets compensated for his or her time. The state attorney gets compensated for their time. The public defenders get compensated for their time. I want to be compensated for my time. The doctor had absolutely no idea how to deal with that. And of course, I was lied about, and I was told I refused to answer any questions, which isn't the case. I actually wanted to make a little money. I was ready to answer some questions, right? So the world has got it backwards. Society has it backwards, right? we accept people changing things that are absolute, and things that aren't absolute, we don't let them change. We don't want them to change. We call them crazy for doing it. I'm a man. I'm created in the image of the Creator. I'm not a corporate fiction entity, all capital letter name on a piece of paper, and no longer will identify as that. So how will I identify? If somebody says, "Who are you?" what do you answer? It's very easy. I am me. It doesn't get more simple than that. Who are you? If a police officer pulls you over or stops you for some reason, and they say, "Okay, under state law, you must identify in this situation." Oh, okay. Well, I am me. This is who I am. I don't know how to identify any better than that. This is who I am. I am me, right? So if you think about it, when you're born, you're like 18 inches long. You weigh about like 7 pounds, 8 pounds, very light, very little. You're not really understanding what's going on around you. You come out of your mom and you're screaming and crying. The second you come into this world, you're crying, right? You just left this place of comfort. Now you're crying. And when you're born, you're assigned a name, right? You're assigned certificates. You're assigned numbers, right? On this birth certificate, there's a number, right? You're now given a Social Security card. None of these things did you volunteer for. All these things are done to you, right? You didn't go anywhere. You didn't authorize anything, right? Your name, you didn't choose your name. You didn't choose to have a birth certificate. You didn't choose to have a number assigned to you. You didn't choose any of these things. And then somewhere, I don't know where, but somewhere in the world, somebody creates a corporation. And they put your name that your mother just assigned you, and they put it on this corporate certificate, this corporate document, and they put it in all capital letters. And that signifies a corporation. And then they take this number, these numbers, or this number that was assigned to you, and they put it on this corporate document, right? This birth certificate number, or whatever it is, they put it on this corporate document. Now, because we live in a legal system and not a system of law, a system of law comes from the Creator. It's absolute. It doesn't change. Not one jot or tittle will it ever change. Till heaven and earth shall pass, not one jot or tittle of the law of the Creator will change, right? But man doesn't like that. Man wants to create its own law, but it can't create law, so it mimics law in the form of legislation, in the form of a legal system, right? So as you're growing up, you're taught that you're this legal entity. You're taught that this birth certificate, this corporation, this name is you, right? You know no better because it's done from the time you're born, from the time of your infancy. You have no clue that you're not a legal person, right? So it's not until the Creator reveals this to you and you wake up and you say, wait a second, I'm created in the image of the Creator. I'm not a legal person. I'm a man created in the image of the Creator. It's only then that you can have the true awakening and come out of that deep slumber. So when you go into a courtroom, excuse me one sec. When you go into a courtroom, the judge is supposed to understand these things. They don't always, all right? Especially on the very low levels, they don't understand these things. I'm sure on the higher levels, it's kind of like, what are some of these religions, like the Scientologists, there's different levels, like the Masons. You can be a 33rd degree Mason, and the lower level ones are like your construction workers, right? They aren't really privy to the insights and the secrets that the higher level ones are. So judges on the county level, the low level judges, the misdemeanor type judges, they may not have knowledge of this, but some of them may. The higher level judges, I believe, do. And when you go into a courtroom, what they're really doing is they want you, the man, or you, the woman, to take hold of this corporate identity, okay, this all capital letter name, this corporate fiction, the certificate that was created without your knowledge when you're 18 inches long and 7.8 ounces, right? They want you to take hold of that. And once you take hold of, see, they're not prosecuting you, the man, or you, the woman. They're not prosecuting the man or the woman. They're prosecuting the legal identity, okay? And so when you go into a courtroom and they say something like, state your name, or who are you? And you say, I am John Doe, or I am Jane Doe, right? What you have just said is, I am this name, this corporate identity. And now, as they prosecute that name, they're not prosecuting you, keep this in mind. As they prosecute that name, wherever they put that name, you're going to follow it because you've attached yourself to it. See, the legal system is a contract system. That's why contracts are so big in the legal system, right? In the old days, they didn't do contracts. They literally took off their shoe and gave it to somebody, right? It was a serious, serious crime in the eyes of God, in the eyes of the law, in the eyes of your fellow man, if you made an agreement with somebody and you backed out of it. Nowadays, if you can finagle your way out of an agreement legally through a loophole in said contract, then nobody cares, right? You found a loophole, right? And so, one second, please. And so whatever they decide to do with this name, you're going to follow it. I always say, imagine you're holding on to like a 3-foot long piece of rope, like one of those big, giant, thick ropes for ships, right? And it's got like a knot on each end, right? So it doesn't slide out of your hand. And they're basically saying, grab the end of this rope, right? And that rope represents your identity, your legal identity, your name, your corporate fiction. It's not even yours. Really, they're the ones that own it. So when I say yours, please understand what I'm saying. They're saying, grab this corporate fiction that we own. Take hold of it. And the second you do that under a contract, you're contracting with them, okay? And so now, as they're not prosecuting you, they're prosecuting this piece of rope, or they're prosecuting this legal identity. And when this legal identity is found guilty, okay, or takes a plea deal, they take this rope that you're holding on to, and they put this rope into a jail cell, and they slam the door behind it and lock it, right? And it's only because you've agreed to take hold of that rope. It's only because you've agreed to take hold of that name that you are now in that jail cell. Because legal is created by persons. Persons is an identity. Persons is a mask, right? Persons is a corporate fiction, right? A man created in the image of the Creator outranks a person in the legal system, okay? So otherwise, they would have no authority over you because you're the highest in the land, okay? So when God created man, he said, I'm going to give you control over this entire earth, this entire world. You are the keepers of this world. You are the custodians of this world. But when we say, I'm going to reduce my identity to the state of personhood, now we are no longer a man in the eyes of the legal system. So now we are ranked according to the legal system. And the legal system says a judge, politicians, police officers outrank citizens, right? So now you've agreed to be the citizen. Now you are outranked by them. But if you never agree to take hold of that identity, then you as a man or you as a woman outrank them, okay? A man created the position of a legal judge, of a legal police officer, of a legal politician, right? So now you outrank them, and they know when they're messing with you. There's fear in their heart. Now they're going to try through coercion to get you to change that. They tried with me for 8 months to get me to change that. Can't tell you how many times they brought me back into that courtroom saying, if you will just either plead guilty or take hold of this legal name, then we will let you go today, right? Now, the legal name would be tarnished, right? Because now there would be a guilty verdict on there, and the legal name would be tarnished. But they would say they did this after the first month I was locked up. They said, if you take hold of this, if you plead guilty, we will let you go right now. And I said, I cannot identify as something I am not, right? And they had fear in their hearts, and they still do to this moment, because they violated the law of the Creator when they did that. And they said, well, we're in deep with this man now. What do we do? Well, maybe next month he'll plea. Maybe that next month he'll say, okay, I got to put an end to this. I'm tired of being locked up. Month after month after month, I held my ground because of the faith I have and being a man created in the image of the Creator. I held my ground. I would not waver. I would not back down. Finally, I saw the heart of that judge turn. I saw the heart of that judge change. Now, was that out of fear of his own keister? I think so, probably. But maybe the Creator softened his heart. I don't know. But at any rate, finally, everything was dismissed and I was released, right? They finally released the man they had in a cage that they had no authority to hold there. And so I shudder to think at the consequences of their actions. Because, you see, they're not used to that. They're used to the thousands of men that are locked up behind bars contracting with them. And we have a society right now where in the United States, the legal entity United States, are more incarcerated men and women than any other country in the entire world, in the United States, right? And I would venture to say 99.9999% of them have contracted with the legal system to be in there. So the judges, the politicians, the police officers, the prosecutors, the public defenders, none of these people will be held accountable for these millions of men incarcerated, because these men allowed it to happen. These men contracted with them, some of them out of ignorance, okay? And that's why I'm here. I'm here to wake people up, to show people, don't be ignorant of this anymore. If you have a brother or a husband or a nephew, right, or a son who's incarcerated right now, get this information to them. Get this information to them. Even if they don't get released in this lifetime, they can start today being the man that the Creator created them to be. And then it's between them and the Creator, and He could have mercy on them. He could free them from this situation. But see, most people don't want the truth. Most people don't want this. Because why? Because the legal system will allow people to indulge in their sins. The legal system allows people to indulge in their sins. And it says, we're going to allow pornography. We're going to allow homosexuality. We're going to allow a man to become a woman, or a woman to become a man. We're going to allow all this wickedness. And then what we'll do is we'll say, we'll legislate we'll legislate against the consequences of it. So yeah, you can watch porn, you can be a freak, you can be a sex addict, but we're going to put limitations on that. And it's not until people violate those limitations that then we can lock them up. But see, people love their sin so much, okay? They don't want to part with their sin, that they will take a stance against the Creator and in favor of being something that's not even real, because the legal system says you can do it. And that's where I even see this problem among many, let's just say Christian men for right now. Christian people, Christian men and women, is that they believe the legal system are the laws of the land. And they will fight vigorously for the legal system. And they will call somebody like me, somebody who's not submitting to authority. You're not submitting to authority. I cannot be associated with you. And this is why the Bible tells us in Mark 10 and many other chapters that you'll be separated from, but you're blessed for it. You're blessed if you're separated from, because the world is not going to accept you when you separate yourself from their legal system that allows them to sin. The world is not going to accept you when you wake up. And when you wake up, it's going to separate, just like my wife had to leave me because I had now separated myself from the world. And of course, we know we're instructed by the Word of God to come out from among them and be separate. And this is one of the reasons I'm so against holidays like Christmas and Easter and all these pagan holidays. Even Thanksgiving has pagan roots, right? So I've separated myself from that. And they say, "Oh, you're just a zealot. They don't want to be part of you anymore because of that." But when that happens, count it a joy. Count it a great joy, because great will be your reward in heaven, because you chose the things of the Creator, not the things of this world. Now, if you decide to wake up, and if you decide to say, "You know what, I agree with this man right now in this YouTube video. I no longer want to identify as a person. I want to identify as a man created in the image of the Creator." Life is going to get difficult for you. One of the things that occurred to me is when I went to renew my driver's license many years ago, they wanted me to swear an oath to renew my license. They said, "Do you raise your right hand? Do you swear all the information you've provided is true and correct?" And not too long before that, I had read in the Word of God that in James 5:12, it says, above all things, do not take an oath, do not swear an oath. And that goes for affirming an oath too. They're like, "Oh, well, you don't have to swear it, you can affirm it." Okay. It says anything other than let your yes be yes and your no be no is of evil. Okay. And it also says this in Matthew 5:34, out of the words of Yeshua himself. He reiterates James 5:12, or 5:12 reiterates him, however you want to look at it. So, and of course, we know, out of the mouth of 2 or 3 witnesses, let every matter be established. So we have 2 witnesses in the New Testament. So a lot of folks want to say, "Oh, you're legalistic. You're keeping to something that's outdated, antiquated, right? The law of God. We're not under the law of God. We're under the New Testament, right?" This is in the New Testament, okay? 2 or more witnesses, 2 witnesses in the New Testament say, do not, above all things, it says in James, do not take an oath, okay? So when I want to renew my driver's license, they want me to do this, and I couldn't do it. I went to 4 different places. Well, I went to the same place, I think, 2 or 3 times, and I went to 2 other places trying to renew it without having to swear an oath. I had no problem with paying a tax. I had no problem with that. Even though I'm not part of this system, sometimes you just take the lesser argumentative route, right? If it's not causing any harm. But when they say, "Okay, we're going to require you to sin to do this," that's when you have to draw the line. You have to say, "No, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to sin against my conscience," right? And against God and against His Word. So essentially that's what happened, right? I'm not able to violate my conscience to get a license. So my life has become more difficult trying to find an occupation, trying to find a job, because jobs in my field require a driver's license, right? And so because of that, now it's very difficult for me. So now all my trust has to be on the Creator, right? And what it does is when you leave the world, it forces us to put all of our trust on the Creator, which is what He wants. And we have to have faith. It forces us to grow our faith. We hear so often people say, "Oh, I'm saved by grace through faith." But you don't have faith. So how do you think you're saved by grace if you have no faith? You can't judge me and say I have no faith. Well, Jesus said if you had the faith of a little tiny grain of mustard seed, that you can make whole mountains move, right? I know I don't have the faith of a little grain of mustard seed, even though I've put my whole life on the line, even though I've put my trade, my skill, my occupation on the line. I've put my ability to drive on the line. I've done everything, right? I've lost almost everything in my life for the Creator. I still don't have that much faith because I'm not making mountains move. That'll be a huge sign to me. When I can make a mountain get up and move, I'll know that I've achieved this amount of grace, this amount of faith. And then, by grace will I be saved. Folks, I hope this resonates with you. I hope that you understand it. I hope you wake up. I hope you share this. I hope you teach this. I'm living proof that what I'm talking about is real. For 8 months, I sat in a jail. I was trafficked. I was used as a laborer. And they could not prosecute me. The good thing is this word got out to hundreds, if not 1,000 men while I was locked up. They could not prosecute me. They had to eventually release me. If you or someone you know or someone you love is facing many years, or even if they just want to, you know what, put an end to being a citizen in a legal system, and they want to follow the Creator, this can keep them from being in prison unlawfully. And then for every second that they are in prison, now you can bank that the people making money on them being in there are going to pay a price. See, now all the politicians, all the police officers, all the judges, now they're accountable because they held a man against his will. And they had no authority to do that. They held a man in prison. All the other prisoners, so-called, nothing will come of that. They will not be judged for that because they were contracted. I didn't contract with them. Everything they did to me, they will pay for. They will pay for because law is absolute. There is, and I'll leave you with this. Okay, this video is way, way too long from what I wanted it to be. All right. The way the law of the Creator works is that no evil deed will go unpunished. No evil deed will go unpunished. Okay? Now, you might say to yourself, well, that's not true. I did this thing, and I didn't go to jail for it. Trust me. Trust me. You might not have gotten caught for that thing that you did, but it will not go unpunished. All evil will be punished. That's the thing. The beauty of the law of the Creator is it's absolute 100% just every single time, without fail. Without fail, it is just and perfect and true 100% of the time. It's the legal system that is not 100% just and true 100% of the time. It's the legal system that changes with the wind. The law is perfect. See, I was a bad man in my former life. I was a bad man. I've done horrible things to people, right? And any punishment that I endure sitting in a jail cell for 8 months, I welcome it. I welcome it because it is so much less than what I deserve. If you go through the law of God and you look at the things I've done, according to the law of God, I have at least 5 death sentences on my head. And it's by the grace of the Creator, the mercy of the Creator, that I'm not dead right now. But because I've submitted myself to Him, my life to Him, I do have to pay consequences for the things I've done. I have to, right? But I'm thankful for the mercy of the Creator that in lieu of these 5 death sentences that I've earned, and that's the ones I know of, okay? In lieu of that, I only had to be in a jail for 8 months. So I thank the Creator for that. I thank the Creator. God bless.